Hi all. So in this video, we'll explain about a main method in C Sharp. So generally main method is an entry point. So but with the main method, how many ways we can implement the main method and how many ways we can pass the values and return types and everything. So let's start this session. What is a main method? So let me open a Visual Studio. Yeah, it's all like in the previous session, I explained how many ways we can run a C Sharp program. So the same example I'm taking now. So what is a main method? Main method is an entry point of a C# program. Whenever we are execute the program, right, the CLR will check for the main method, which comes with the static keyword. So that particular main method will start the execution process. Whatever the logic we wrote, so everything get be executed inside the main method only. So here, how we can declare a main method? So if you want to declare a main method, right, that should be decorated with the static. Why static? So static means whenever we declare a method with a static, so there is no need to create an object. So in the same way, whenever a program got executed, it will automatically invoke and it will be it gets the memory gets created in the memory by using CLR. So here, how many ways we can create a main method? Let's comment all this content. So Control KC to comment all the content at one shot. So in general, whenever we create a class file, it automatically comes with a namespace. Namespace we generally use to combine these all classes, and we can acquire these methods and everything from another class by using a namespace. So that's the part of out of the box. Now we are discussing about a main method. So after a namespace, we generally use a class. Inside a class, we use a main method. So whenever a main method with a static and a main word, so it can be called as a entry pointer. So if you don't want to pass on any values, right? So then we can declare a method in a different way. So the main method I'm commenting. So static void main. So yeah, without an argument, we can declare a main method. It's not something like a overloading, but what happened whenever you want to declare a method, main method without a parameters also, it can allow. So whenever you run the program, it will start from here only. But that should be a combination of static and a main word. So is there any other ways to implement? Yes. So like I'm just commenting this also. So I am just returning a value. Like let me create one more time static void main string array type, and I'm just giving a variable name as args. So I'm just created a main method, but I'm just changing the return type. So what if we change a return type? So we should return a value. For that we generally use a keyword called return. I'm just returning one. So this is the third way we can declare a main method. Still it can be an entry point. Why? Because we kept a static and a name called main. So in the same way, without arguments also we can create. So let's create one more time. Control KU to uncomment. So I'm just removing the arguments. So see, so these many ways we can create a main method, and even you can go for a asynchronous process. So like for asynchronous, let me comment this again. For asynchronous, what we need to do, static async task main method. Okay, so you can use await. So to do some kind of operations, let me call a method. I just created a process hold method. So for that I'm just adding one more method called static void process hold. It should be also async task. So await task dot delay of some 1 second. I'm just writing. So in that way also we can create a main method with asynchronous. So general asynchronous will work for asynchronous programming. So for just an example, I'm just created a main method with async also. So in this way, we can declare a main method. Like we can create a main method using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types. So this is the way we can declare a main method. So anyone can work, but except whenever you uncomment, right? Like if you want to create a two main methods in the same class, so that won't work. Let me delete this for just an example. See, whenever you declare a method, main method with a different return types, that won't be considered as a or generally we main method related, right? So return types won't be considered as a overload. In the same way, in the main method also, it won't be considered as a overload. So that is the reason we cannot keep two main methods in this situation as considered as an entry point. So it's always considered a main method with the one static keyword is can be an entry point. Remaining everything when you declare, it will throw an errors only. So let me remove all these things. So this is what a main method. How many ways we can declare a main method. So comes to, let's run. Okay. So how many ways we can write a main method that we discussed now. How to pass a values to main method. So to pass values to a main method, right? So generally it is taking multiple values. Whenever we mention a array in the parameters, so it is expecting multiple values. So in Visual Studio, we generally can't find how to pass values to main method. If you use any customized methods, then we can pass the values. Like if you write any method inside the main method, there we can pass the values easily. But for to main method, if you want to pass a values, so generally we need to go to the project file and properties, and we have to find the debug. And you can see in the latest version, you can see the option like this, open debug launch. So like this you can pass. So I just already added 21 or 2 some values. So in that way, if you are mentioned the arguments in the specific option debug and the command line arguments, so it will be automatically apply whenever the main method gets executed. So for that, just I want to print the values. Console dot write line arguments of 0. You may have a idea on arrays, that's fine. Otherwise, like I'm just what I'm doing, we already passed the values here, right? So the debug, yeah, the first value considered as a 0, the position we are discussing now, this is the position of 0, this is the position of 1, this is the position of 2. So in that way only arrays will work. So for now, for just understanding purpose on the passing arguments, so I'm just adding like this. 0 means the first value. If I mention 1, it will print the second value. If I mention 2, it will print the third value. So now I just uncomment in the console.readline, or else you, if you want to go with the debugger mode, you can press Control F5. So I'm just uncommenting this, and I'm just run the program. See the values which I passed using debug option like a command line. So those values will get printed. So by in this way we can pass the values to main method. So if you are using command line, right? So in the command line process, it's a kind of different. But let me show that also. So let me copy the method. I'm just pasting into a notepad. Okay. Now this file in specific folder, I'm just checking where it is. It is in desktop sample, right? So I'm just opening a command prompt, cd desktop cd sample. Okay, now I'm just compiling the file. So generally using command prompt also we can run the C# files. For that we generally use a keyword called csc add numbers.cs. Okay. If there is no error, so means it will get prompt discontent only. So if you are finding any errors, that will show here, so we have to fix this. So for now we don't get any errors. Now what I'm doing, I'm just executing the file. To execute a file, we generally use a file name .exe space whatever the values you want to pass, you can pass, so that can be printed. So again I given enter. Even though if you are missing a .exe, that also works because it will automatically invoke a exe file only. So in that way we can pass values to a main method. So let's go to the slide. Can we overload a main method? No, as I mentioned, right, it only accepts a string array type arguments or without arguments only. So we cannot overload a main method. And return types. So yeah, return types. So we go for a return type now. So generally we used a void only. Whenever you see a program in any project, right, it contains only void. Why we can also mention a different data type also, that is called integer type only, because it won't allow. Let me, whenever I mention a return type, right, that we need to return a value, return something called 1. Okay, so I'm just returning 1. So why we only integer? So it only provide a integer type or void only. So like if I mention a float, it will throw as some error. Not now, like let me build this one. Yeah, you can see program does not have a suitable static main method. So the whatever the main method we use, that only accepts a void type or int type only. So let me run. See, it was got successed only. So if you want to check that output, like I just want to print this arguments or something, right? Let me page the first value. Anyway, we are mentioning a return type as integer, so we have to convert to integer. Convert dot to into 32, the argument value, the 0th value I'm returning. So to check this output, generally what happened after program execution, it will automatically close. But to check this output, the return type, what we have to do, we have to press Ctrl F5. So it will go as a debugger mode. So once it will become a debugger mode, right, so you will get the value. Let me run by pressing Ctrl F5. So let's see the output. See, this was the basic input we provided in the command line. Now it is expecting a console.read line. Some enter button it is expecting. So I clicked on enter button. So you can see it's a debugger line. So there is no need to worry about. So what it is showing, the exited code with the 20. So which means the value which we passed as a first argument, right, 20, that has been printed here. So the same way you can also pass another argument value as a return type. So again we can click on Ctrl F5, click on enter. You can see the second value 1 or 2 got printed. So in this way we can continue any kind of a return type, means it must be integer but different value, or like if you want to pass any static value, right, like if you want to pass as 1 or 0 something, so that you can also pass. So just rerunning the program. So you can see the output exited code with code 1. So in that way we can return the values. So you may got confusion like so how it will work. So how it will work with the command line. So like let's go with the command line. So this is the existing program. Just what I need to do, I'm just taking this. Okay, I'm just need to copy two things only. The return type I have to change, and the return value, or like we already wrote some argument value, right, that I'm taking now. Okay, return value I placed. So now I'm just need to rerun the program. So how to rerun the program? So whenever we did some code change, that we have to compile again. So csv add numbers. Okay, there is no error. Now what I need to do, add numbers You can use with exe or without exe, as I mentioned. So now I'm passing some values. See, now it is expecting some console.readline means it is expecting some enter button. So now we didn't receive any return because it's a console level. So for that, what we had to do, we had to use a defined word called error level. See, 45. So it may be an awkward way, like we can't go to take a main method return type like this. For that, we can use some kind of a batch programming. There you can call our application, like whatever the program we wrote. Then after you can use, if it is getting a return type, that we can process further using a batch file. But that is not comes under a C sharp, right? So that's the reason we just giving the way we how we are returning the value. So in that way we can return the value. But if you go further and further, it will return some garbage value. So that is the reason we generally not go for a return type like this in a command prompt level. So yeah, we'll flip back to Visual Studio again. So it will show you a better way of example for this main method return. So let's go and create one more class, public public static. Sorry, why I'm using static means we don't need to create an object again. So to create a class, we have to be outside the class only. Like yeah. So class sample return. Okay. So here I'm just doing one more main method, public static void main. So in the method, so yeah, I just added a one public keyword earlier. So if we are not using the public method, public access modifier, what will happen? We cannot directly call the method. So program dot main, you cannot access. To access, right, we have to be prefixed as public only. So public can be accessible in outside the classes. So that we can discuss on access modifiers class. But for now, I'm just added a public keyword, so that can be accessible now. So main method, you can see. So now I can pass a array of values. You can say it is receiving array of arguments, right? So it is string type. So what I'm doing, I'm just making a string type array and just passing 12, 34, 56 something. So why I kept integers in a string format? Because it is only takes string values. Later you want to convert, you can convert like this. But for now we are just making this main method return type example, right? So for that I'm just wrote like this. So let's take the input into one variable, return value equal to our program. So what happened here, it will call the main method and then it will go to return. It return will return the argument 0 value which we already added in the command line. That value will comes to return value. So to show this value we have to print, right? So console dot read write line return value. So to show in a better way, the return value plus return value. Okay, so now it will be printed like this only. So I created two classes in a one file, right? So it will consider like an ambiguity. Why? Because two classes having main method. So this kind of like which class has to be loaded in the project. So project have multiple files or multiple classes, but it should run only a single class main method only. So for now what happened, I created a program class. Again I created sample return class. So to clear this confusion, I have to make this class as a primary load. So for that what I had to do, I have to open this project file, and in the startup object I have to mention as namespace dot class file. So what will happen when the program got executed, it will load the this namespace, like whatever the namespace we have, in the namespace which class we want to run. So the specific class get loaded. So let me put a debugger about this kind of properties. Everything will make another video. For now we are just making this particular class as a startup. So I'm just running the program. Okay, the main method got executed. Now you can see this main method is not executing. This method only gets executed because I already kept which class to be loaded first. So now I'm just going to a main method. Now you can see all the three values which I passed are showing here 12, 34, 56. Now it is a console.readline, it is expecting. So I just clicked on enter button. Now the return value will pass to this return value parameter. So you can see now the value is 12. So zeroth value we passed, right? Zeroth value means 12. So 12 get printed. You can see the return value 12. So in that way we can use the main method return types also. But in general, real time people won't use any return types for main method because it is used to invoke automatically. Later, whatever you want to write in the program level, you can add inside the main method only. Yeah, so this way I can say like these are the different ways we can perform for main method, like what is main method and the different ways to write main method and the passing values and the returning values. As I mentioned, we can't overload a main method uh, because the main method having only string args or like without the parameters only. So we can't use like, let me add that also, like if I use int a comma int b like that, it won't work. Let me comment this. So it's showing error, right? So in not all, okay, even if we mention a return, okay. So if I compile now, build, build solution, this method also we are calling, right? And now I just need to comment to confirm, just build solution. See, could not find a method specified for main method. It won't take any parameters except a string args and empty only. So better always use a string args if you want to pass any values. Otherwise, you can just make it as empty only. Let's uncomment. So we can define a main method in different ways, but we cannot overload with multiple parameters. So it only takes a string as arguments and without arguments only. Or return type, it is on our approach. Like if we want to get an return type, so we can use int. But int and void only, except everything it won't return. Okay, yeah, that's all I think. Thanks for watching.